If you're new to growing tomatoes, you may have heard about suckers, and you may be confused about what they look like. Well, I've saved a few plants down in our community garden called Rose Alley, and I am going to show you all sizes of suckers, and we are going to prune tomatoes, so stick around. I just want to show you this tomato before we go down. I have grown this from this size to this size in my kitchen window. These things are possible inside. Now, I'm not going to have bees pollinating my flowers, which means I'm not going to have fruit without pollination. But you can get your plants started inside if you have good light. And I do in this kitchen. So this particular, I want to give you a close-up of this particular plant is already putting out its suckers. Look how small these are. Right there, that tiny little thing. There's one on each joint. And if I took this leaf off, the stem would put the energy into growing a new leaf there. One more thing I wanted to show you to demonstrate on this very small tomato, because you can really see this. Sometimes at the top it's hard to tell what is the stem and what is the leaf, because in this case, just look at this. It looks like this one is the tall stem coming up because it's more straight, it's big, but no, it's not. This one in the middle is actually the stem. So you don't want to cut that off because that's where your tomatoes are going to come from. Right now, this is the only potential for fruit on this whole plant because nothing else. All of these are just leaves. And if I want to cut leaves, when I bury this, I could bury this, cut these leaves, and roots would come out. Or if I want to keep this above ground and I want to trim off these leaves, because a lot of times it's a good idea to keep your tomato plants pruned up at least a foot from the ground, because when you water, that's when you encourage spores to splash back up on your plant. And a lot of people will prune their tomatoes a foot off the ground at least, all the leaves. And what will happen is that tomato plant will try to replace that leaf. And you'll see after that cut, there will be a little leaf coming back out. Either a leaf or a sucker will come right back out of that spot. Now, determinate tomatoes are a little bit different. You treat them a little differently because they come out all at once, they shed all their fruit at once, and then they're done. I haven't grown a determinate tomato since 2012, so I'm not as knowledgeable about those. Most of your heirloom varieties are indeterminates, and the difference between the plant is one puts out all its fruit at once, stops growing. An indeterminate keeps growing. The vine just keeps growing. It would grow over your house if the conditions were right. It would just keep going. And that's why, for accessibility, you want to be able to keep your tomato plants pruned. You want to be able to reach the top, for example, and get those tomatoes and not have them inaccessible to you. So, for maximum production and ease of gardening, you want to keep your tomato plants under control. So the thinking behind pruning your tomatoes is you've got this stem, and all the energy is coming up from the roots, and you want to put that energy into growing tomatoes. So you have a little stem that comes out, and it could very well be one of these. You have to wait and see if it's a fruit-bearing stem or if it's another plant it's trying to grow. But this tomato will continue to try to grow new plants, and every time you let a sucker grow, you can cut that sucker off. And you can either stick it into potting soil, moist potting soil, and it'll grow roots right there, or you can put it in water, like this one. The other day, I took this out of the garden because it wasn't looking so good. I just trimmed it all off. Look at all, that's like fur coming out of that stem. It's really amazing. And that's another reason you want to bury your stem up as high as you can in the dirt, because it'll just, even if your cut is down here, most plants will just put out roots at the bottom, but tomatoes will just put out like a mane on a horse. It'll just come all the way out. So all of that gives it more strength and more energy to grow faster and hopefully put on a lot of fruit. One thing I will say about my new location is I have not seen bees. Very concerned about that. So that you'll have to stay tuned and see what happens. But now we'll go down and look at the two big plants, and I'll cut those suckers, because the thing is, you can let a tomato plant bush out. You can. You don't have to prune it, but it'll be mostly leaves and stems and not as much fruit. So if you really want maximum production, you want to put your tomatoes pretty close together and not have those side branches going out creating new plants. So let's go downstairs. Okay, I just cut off a number of big suckers. Each one of these can be a plant, and they're going to wilt very quickly, so I'm going to get them in some water. You can see at the bottom of this, there's a split right out of the ground. I'm going to take off this leaf, and I'm going to take off this leaf. And now you can see this sucker better. You can tell the difference between the two. If there's no disease on the cut leaves, you can just bury them in the soil of the plant. If you have a gardening question for me, please leave a comment below or connect with me on Facebook at Late Bloomer Show and Instagram. I will be compiling a questions and answers video very soon, and maybe your question will get answered. Thanks so much for watching this channel, liking my videos, and especially sharing them with your friends. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Or a new plant. Hold for the helicopter. So you know I'm primarily container gardening now, and Cavill, I really should move that. It's right in my way. I think I said it all. So, and join our live streams. We're very, how do I say we're wonderful? I have a wonderful community that joins my live streams, and I'd like you to be a part of it. So tune in. If you enjoyed this video, please watch these. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And I'll see you in the next video.